SCP-811. You know that one Florida man who claimed he only drank at stoplights and not while driving? Now imagine instead of drinking booze, he melts a raccoon just by touching it, then drinks the puddle. That's the Swamp Woman. She's a Euclid-class anomaly so bizarre, she could easily make a Florida headline. The Swamp Woman is human-shaped, but barely. 6 feet tall, skin like wet sandpaper, and a smell somewhere between pond water and motor oil. You'd think with that description, her mugshot would be a disaster, right? Wrong. The internet saw her and immediately dubbed her a swamp baddie. But whatever you do, don't ask, what those hands do? Because the answer is, leak a slimy, clear mucus that instantly melts anything alive, frogs, plants, unlucky interns, into a pile of black goo. Then she just soaks that up like a sponge. Inside, it gets worse. She has no intestines, meaning whatever she can't digest just sits in her stomach until she vomits it out in thick, sticky clumps. If that glue hits your face, you'll either suffocate or lose a 3-day fight with infection. Either way, she'll be waiting. And she's not picky either. She once asked for a turtle in a hazmat suit. Still not clear if it was for company or seasoning, because honestly, if a Florida man threw a gator through a drive-through window, she'd be waiting in the parking lot with a bib and a side of hot sauce. Containment? Explosive. The Foundation keeps her inside a sealed glass swamp, 10 meters wide, 2 meters deep, no open flames allowed, because her methane burps are one match away from a backyard explosion. SCP-3794. You know that one Florida man who got tagged by both a gator and a shark on the same vacation? Sounds like Dr. William Weddle booked his itinerary. But hey, at least he never got hammered into a bowl of party dip. Because that's what happens when you meet SCP-3794. It's basically a safe class anomaly, which means it's not out to get you unless you grab it and start swinging. You see, SCP-3794 looks like a regular sledgehammer, right up until it makes contact with living tissue. Then, it instantly turns part of you into freshly made pico de gallo salsa dip. Tomatoes, onions, cilantro, perfect texture, restaurant quality. The transformation is clean. No gore, no blood. Just a very personal side dish. If you take a chunk out of someone's arm, that part might keep functioning. In one test, a guy's whole brain and skull got salsa'd. He still managed to crawl across the floor and write help using his own cranial dip. And if you were curious about the taste test, someone tried eating the salsa. They were dead in under 30 minutes. So naturally, testing ended shortly after. Containment is locked and lonely. SCP-3794 sits in a standard item locker with 0 testing clearance. No one touches it, no one swings it, and absolutely no one brings tortilla chips. So yeah, it's just a hammer. But in the hands of the wrong person, especially one with a Florida zip code, it's a very spicy crime scene waiting to happen. SCP-457. You see this headline? This wasn't a coincidence. It was probably SCP-457 doing what he does best, mistaking a courtroom for a backyard cookout and setting the vibe to well done. SCP-457 is a Euclid-class anomaly, and possibly Keter, depending on how much fuel he gets. Basically, he's a living flame with one goal: burn everything. In simple terms, the more fuel he gets, the more dangerous and smart he becomes. At first, he's a little spark. Then, he gets fired up. Suddenly, the room is less romantic glow and more live cremation. And it talks too, sort of. If you've ever heard a bonfire try to whisper threats, that's what it sounds like. Want fuel, want burn. Not exactly Shakespeare, but pretty clear on intent. And no, you can't just spray him with water. That trick stops working the second he finds something else flammable. One time, he used overheated containment pipes to trap staff in a burning hallway after breaking the ventilation system just to spark things up. He doesn't need a reason. He just likes to watch things blister. Ask him to cool down, he'll probably set your freezer on fire. So, yeah, if Florida ever had to arrest a guy for public nudity, arson, and fighting a fire truck, this would be him. His body burns off anything he wears, including containment suits, and every time you try to put him out, he just jumps to whatever's flammable nearby. Containment is suffocating, by design. He's locked in a sealed chamber with minimal oxygen, just enough to keep his flame flickering but not raging. SCP-066. A Florida man once danced on a police car to scare off vampires. And if you look closely, you'll spot 066 in the background, blasting whatever symphony makes a man act like that. Also, don't be surprised if his eardrums burst short after. You see, SCP-066 is a safe class anomaly with an upgrade to Euclid impetus, meaning it used to be harmless. Now, it's one bad haircut away from screaming your ears off. It looks like a lumpy red ball of yarn and ribbon. Play with it nicely, and it might reward you with birthday cupcakes, a 4-minute guitar solo, or, once, a live kitten. The catch? Do anything it doesn't like. Cut it, poke it, and it gets violent. It'll scream, "Eric!" in a deep, angry voice and blast loud classical music blasts at over 140 decibels. That's enough to burst eardrums, disable electronics, and cause physical pain within seconds. The change happened after a D class tried to cut off a piece for testing. It rolled away, squeaked, and asked, "Are you Eric?" When the guy said no, the yarn turned hostile and began emitting Beethoven until half the room couldn't hear for life. Now its effects include strobe-like lighting failures, random soundtracks at painful volumes, and in one case, the spontaneous release of a live bee. Containment is strictly look but don't touch. It's locked in a box at Site 21, where Level 2 staff can poke it, but only if they bring ear protection, sign the right forms, and accept they might leave with less hearing and more trauma. So yeah, if you've ever called the cops on a neighbor's backyard rave and ended up in the ER, you already get it. SCP-131. No arms? No problem. A Florida man still found a way to commit assault. SCP-131? Same energy. It doesn't even have limbs, and still manages to obsessively stalk you everywhere you go. Meet SCP-131-A and SCP-131-B, also known as the iPods. They're teardrop-shaped, sentient little creatures, one burnt orange, one mustard yellow, with a single unblinking eyeball and a wheel for locomotion. And when they like you, they follow you everywhere. Bathroom stall? Check. Public sauna? Steamed and unbothered. Confession booth? That's not God watching you from above, it's them. They're considered safe class anomalies, but it's more like chaotic toddler energy than harmless. They zip around Site 19 at full speed. No brakes, ramming into walls, and occasionally getting stuck in the air vents. Despite the chaos, they're surprisingly helpful. Once, they rolled into SCP-173's chamber and stared it down long enough for the janitorial crew to clean the place safely. Turns out, they're very good at intense eye contact, especially with entities that shouldn't be left unwatched. They also communicate in untranslatable squeaks, form puppy-level attachments to humans, and absolutely will not leave you alone once bonded. Once they're locked on, you might as well cancel your weekend plans. Eye contact isn't just a hello, it's a lifelong agreement. Containment is basically free range with supervision. They're allowed to roam Site 19 as long as hourly checks confirm they haven't wandered somewhere deadly. So, do they belong in a Florida jail? Not really, but if loitering, stalking, and extreme eye contact were crimes, these two would be serving back-to-back life sentences. SCP-504. So, you remember what I said about a Florida man throwing a gator through a drive-thru? Yeah, that actually happened. And somehow, SCP-504 still manages to be more unhinged. This anomaly is out there, chucking tomatoes hard enough to kill. Because your jokes suck. SCP-504, also known as the critical tomatoes, is a batch of ordinary-looking tomatoes with extraordinary taste. Not in flavor, but rather taste in humor. If they hear a bad joke within earshot, they will violently launch themselves at the speaker with deadly force. Think food fight, but the tomatoes are snipers, and you're the target. The reaction time is immediate. No delay, no mercy. Just full-speed produce-based punishment. One guy said, "I don't subscribe because I like to keep the algorithm guessing." The tomato clocked him at 97 miles per hour. They're classified safe, but only because they're easy to store. Containment is simple. Keep them in a soundproof locker and don't test your cringe jokes on them. They've banned "I'll subscribe later" lines, and personnel are strictly forbidden from cracking dad jokes or puns near them. The tomatoes don't rot. They don't lose potency. And if you're wondering, yes, they catch sarcasm like a Florida man catches gators. Several researchers learned that the hard way and left the test chamber looking like they lost a fight with a bottle of ketchup. So, whatever you do, don't bring SCP-504 to an open mic night in Florida. Or do. I'm not your supervisor. I just want to see the headline that comes out of it. SCP-011. A Florida man once tried to shoot a puppy. The puppy shot back. SCP-011 would call that justice and probably offer the pup a spare musket. He's a Civil War memorial that came to life somewhere in the 90s. Safe class, but not if you're a pigeon. Ask the first one who tried to land on him. It started with head tilts and eye flicks. Then came full conversations and warning shots. If a bird so much as looked at him sideways, it was getting airmailed to the afterlife. That was his whole personality for a while. Stone-faced sharpshooter with zero tolerance for feathers or droppings. He didn't care if you were cooing, nesting, or just passing by. If your wings fluttered near him, you were about to be downgraded from pigeon to pavement stain. But over time, 011 got more expressive. He started moving, talking, even caught feelings for his caretaker, Elizabeth Perez. They even had an unofficial marriage. Yes, between a woman and a statue. When she died, he lost all anomalous properties and became just a statue again. No more movement, no more sass, just stone and a full-time job as a bird toilet. Containment is non-existent. He's not dangerous unless you're a bird, a loudmouth, or someone trying to rewrite history. Word of advice? Don't ruffle his feathers. Don't let the joke fly over your head. And whatever you do, don't poop on him. I'm looking at you, Florida man. SCP-1609. This Florida man kidnapped a scientist to make his dog live forever. He should have just introduced the pup to SCP-1609, because immortality apparently starts with a wood chipper. Originally, SCP-1609 was a peaceful, even wholesome anomaly. A big oak recliner that would teleport to anyone too tired to stand. Then the Global Occult Coalition got involved. It's basically the Foundation's aggressive cousin. Where the Foundation takes notes, the GOC takes aim. When they found 1609, they didn't study it. They shoved it through the chipper. Unfortunately for them, that didn't destroy the chair. It traumatized it. So what was once a helpful seat became a sentient pile of shredded wood and leather, with teleportation powers and roid rage. Now? If you wear the wrong jacket, use a power tool, or even say the wrong phrase, SCP-1609 will respond by teleporting splinters into your lungs. And it doesn't stop at one piece. It can move its entire mass instantly across the world. Once, it attacked GOC agents from miles away without warning, then returned to its chamber like nothing happened. Containment is more like therapy. It lives in a flower bed and gets regular compliments about how lovely it looks. Say something rude, it'll vanish and come back with murder on its mind. Honestly, if you've ever been hit with a lawn chair outside a Florida bar, you already understand SCP-1609. That concludes the list, folks. If you thought Florida was strange before, just be glad these SCPs haven't made the local news. Yet.